Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. What if just 3% of the population made a move and started accumulating precious metals? Yes, that is the question that was posed to me by Alex Mills based off of some commentary of a pretty long rant about precious metals from Lynette Zhang, who I typically listen to with very cautious ears because of the industry that she's in. She's obviously in the business of selling precious metals or advising in that form. So I like to take things that other folks say with a grain of salt. But listening to that, it certainly is thought-provoking. And but the question is what would happen if 3% of the population were start to accumulate precious metals, gold and silver? Well, I think we can take away gold here in this format, because I believe that's really the most realistic scenario to take place, is that 3% of the population or more were to accumulate silver. Much easier to get, much more attainable in various different economic situations around the world. And I would say that it would be a huge game changer, especially considering where silver is compared to where gold is. Gold has a very large market out there in comparison to silver. In fact, when you look at silver compared to most other asset classes, it's a very tiny market. And yes, there is a considerable silver supply, even though it is still rarer than most of the base metals. It is considered a precious metal for sure, and it is also a monetary metal. It has been a monetary metal for thousands of years, and really it was only until the late 60s, maybe early 70s in some other nations, when silver stopped being utilized in our currency. And so that is because, it's become more valuable. And that just gives, to me, that really gives a more of an example of the value of silver throughout history and how it has maintained its value and gone beyond the fiat designation that the governments decree for currency out there. Fiat currencies typically die after a while if they're not backed by something tangible. In fact, that's the one thing constant about gold and silver, is they have maintained their intrinsic worth through millennia as money and utilized in currencies in different empires and different ages. And I believe that will continue to be so long after you and I are gone, no matter what technological advances come along. And by the way, I believe that technological advances that do come along will involve silver and gold. But specifically, let's say, as a hypothetical, is a question that Alex had asked me, and that is, what would happen if 3% of the population were to accumulate gold and silver? And especially, silver. Because I'm taking gold out of this because throughout history, silver has been utilized in everyday exchanges much more so than gold. And in fact, in any case where silver is used as money, it is more liquid than gold. That's right. For everyday transactions, silver is more liquid than gold if it is used in our currency. Because if you imagine if somebody were to bring in a $10 gold piece and try to make change for it, some stores may not have it back when silver and gold were used as money. Whereas if you bring in a Morgan dollar or what have you, you can get back change from that for any transactions. So that's why silver is so special in that regard. Now, if 3% of the population started to accumulate silver, that would be a massive amount of people, no question. It would be a total game changer for silver and its valuation. And now the next question would be: could it completely take the wind out and the power, and maybe even debase the central banks? I don't think so. And the reason for that is because I believe that if people were to start to accumulate silver, it would just go up in price. And 3% is still a small enough number that there's, the other 80% or what have you. Obviously, there's some people in the population that don't use the banking system, especially in some of these lesser developed nations out there. But if you look at the populations of China, India, very densely and highly populated nations, and take into account their accumulation of silver, especially considering where gold is. And the reason why I took gold out of this equation is because a lot of Indians do accumulate gold privately, and they probably have the largest per capita amount of gold in the world. And also China accumulates a lot of gold as part of their culture. Whereas silver, even though we are seeing it start to on the rise in India, is because of the politics and laws and the like about the importation of gold. So the Indians are starting to accumulate more silver. In fact, that is something we're paying attention to that could potentially lead to a rise in price for silver. But notwithstanding, let's say you remove those nations outside and take those nations away, and let's say that in Western Europe and in the United States, Canada, and let's just say United States and Canada. Let's leave Mexico out of it because I believe they do already. A lot of them do accumulate more silver. But let's say 3% of those areas in Western Europe, North America, Canada and the United States were to accumulate 3% of the population. I believe it would have a profound impact on the price of silver, for sure. Notwithstanding, but obviously if 3% of the whole world were to accumulate silver, it would have an obviously profound impact. And I believe that in that particular time and case, if you take gold out of it, I believe that, you could see that gold to silver ratio narrow very, very to record lows between gold and silver. Now, obviously, if they were to accumulate gold as well, that would be a total game changer. And in fact, I believe that if gold were to be accumulated in tandem with silver, it would just really depend on how much gold people were to get. I don't think there's probably enough gold to go around to go to 3% of the world's population. So that might be an unrealistic measure, which is why I'm focusing on silver here. That's the thing. That's why there is a potential for silver to increase in price considering the small market that it is. But there is a reason why the silver market is so small, and that is because the prices have been suppressed or lately, or depressed lately. And a lot of that I believe is through natural market conditions and supply and demand and all that goes with it. But there's obviously some manipulation that goes on too as well. Most people that have taken my little anecdotal survey feel that silver should be over $30 an ounce. So a lot of people feel it's undervalued. And, and the thing is I believe that the more people that have silver, the better off. We all are, because it's a way of showing independence and removing certain aspects of our financial stability away from being dependent on the system, so to speak. Makes us independent of that system to some degree. It's an insurance policy. As long as we understand that insurance policy, that is these physical precious metals here, I believe that is going to lead us into an era of a new understanding, a monetary understanding, and also empowerment. So I believe that 3% of 3% increase of the population in your country or my country would be a game changer, I believe. And make no mistake, that's a lot of people, and that's a lot of people that would be accumulating metal that would have a very high demand, and I believe that would have a profound impact on the supply for sure. So there's I believe that's my opinion on the question at hand. It was talked about very little in that talk towards the end, but I do believe that it's something to consider, and that's why it's good that we accumulate gold and silver, and really in this case, especially silver, because it's a metal that can be bought in different sizes at an affordable level, and if more people had it, I think the more better off they will be as an independent player in the system. And that is what is so profound about it. That's probably one of the better ways that you can sell someone on silver. Yeah, and because the metal itself really sells itself. But if you approach folks and tell them to look at the history of the metal being used as currency, and where we are at today and what our government has done and what the Federal Reserve has done over time here in the United States and even what other nations have done around the world, the fact that they have debased their currency to now it's clad or aluminum even in some cases, that should tell folks something. All you have to do is look at history. And so what do you do to make up for that? Well, you accumulate. That's why we have things like this. You know, this is a coin that was in circulation at a point in history. It is the silver $50, the Walking Liberty type. And this was used as everyday money. You accumulate one of these, and you have a piece of history in your hand. And to me, that sells itself. And it's empowering. No government or no entity can take away the value of silver or so suppress it that it becomes worth nothing. And no matter what your views are on manipulation and where the price should be and where the price is, regardless of that, I believe that silver has value that will last a lifetime and beyond. No amount of currency or manipulation or reset of any currency will change that. It is the ultimate insurance policy. And so it's something that I believe is valuable enough that friends and family should be aware of it. And we're getting close to the holiday season. It's a great time to give a coin like this or a mercury dime or a small little token of silver to show and educate your family and friends about silver. So there you have it. I hope that answered the question. And I want to thanks to Alex Miles for sending me that question along. And I want to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching this video and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.